Have you ever wondered how one of history's greatest empires actually collapsed? In this series, we're breaking down the perfect storm of chaos and corruption that brought Rome to its knees. Let's dive into what really happened. In the summer of 410, the gates of the Salarian Way were opened from within, allowing Alaric and his Visigoth army to pour into the streets of Rome. For 3 days, a city that had not been breached by a foreign enemy in 8 centuries was systematically plundered. The event was a psychological shatterpoint, signaling that the invisible aura of Roman invincibility had finally evaporated. This physical breach was a symptom of a deeper decay within the imperial administration. In the half-century leading up to the end, the throne became a deadly revolving door, with dozens of men claiming the title of emperor. Most were assassinated by their own guards or rivals, trading long-term stability for brief, violent moments of absolute power. That internal instability made the empire's vast borders, while this constant turnover in leadership gutted the Roman government. The resulting chaos left the empire vulnerable to threats far beyond its walls. These deteriorating defenses meant that impossible to defend against external pressures. Groups like the Vandals and Huns were not merely invading, they were migrating, driven by a changing climate and the search for fertile land. The Roman legions, once a disciplined wall of iron, found themselves stretched thin across thousands of miles of increasingly hostile territory. The cost of maintaining these overextended borders eventually broke the Roman economy from the inside out. To pay the soldiers, emperors began debasing the currency, mixing cheap metals into the silver denarius until the coins were virtually worthless. Trade ground to a halt as hyperinflation forced citizens back into an inefficient system of bartering and local hoarding. Economic collapse naturally fed into a crisis of labor and production across the Roman heartland. The empire had long relied on the steady flow of enslaved people from military conquests to work the massive agricultural estates. When the expansion stopped, the supply of labor dried up, causing food production to plummet and the once great cities to begin starving. Even the very composition of the army changed. This lack of farmable food left the government unable to pay its own people, forcing leaders to look for cheaper ways to maintain their borders. The situation became desperate as traditional Roman citizens fled from military service. The state began hiring entire barbarian tribes to fight other barbarians, essentially outsourcing their defense to the people they were trying to keep out. These mercenaries held little loyalty to the Roman ideal, following only the generals who promised them the most gold. Growing out of this fractured defense, the Western Empire finally collapsed into a collection of fragmented kingdoms. In 476, the Germanic chieftain Odoacer deposed the teenage emperor Romulus Augustulus, choosing not to replace him, but to rule as king of Italy. The great administrative machine of the West was officially dismantled, marking the definitive end of the ancient world. In summary, the sack of Rome in 410 proved the empire could be broken. Political instability saw emperors frequently assassinated by their own men. Moving tribes placed unbearable pressure on the overstretched Roman borders. Massive currency debasement led to hyperinflation and economic ruin. The end of military expansion caused a fatal labor shortage. Relying on barbarian mercenaries destroyed the army's internal loyalty. The final deposition of Romulus Augustulus ended the Western line. Rome fell when its internal foundations could no longer support its weight.